Good morning. So let's talk about Comrade Bernie and socialism and this attitude in our country right now that so many people, Democrats, liberals, young people, they're flocking to Bernie. They want this country to be a socialist country, and yet most of them have no idea what a real socialist country looks like. Well, I've done some research. That's why we didn't have a show last week. And I got to tell you, it's really scary to think of America becoming socialist. Because when a country becomes a socialist country, the people in that country lose their freedom. And isn't that what we base America on, is freedom? We should have the freedom to choose for ourselves how much money we make, what we do with that money, what kind of health care we have, what doctor we go to, what treatments we receive, what foods we eat. All that goes away under socialism. So I'm going to go step by step here. Let's talk about this Medicare for all, socialized medicine in America, which, by the way, I used to be for until I realized that while it would be good for some people, it would be costing me and my friends and most of the people I know a lot of money in taxes. Because, see, if you even have a decent job and you are able to support yourself without government help, if we become socialists, your taxes are going to go through the roof. Through the roof. And the people who are living in poverty currently, they are going to stay in poverty for the rest of their lives because they won't have any incentive to get out of it, because the government is going to take money from people like me and my husband and just give it to people who are living in poverty. So they'll just stay poor and dependent on the government for the rest of their lives. And is that what we want? America used to be, the American dream, where people come here, they start out poor and they work hard and they can be anything they want. And they get out of poverty. My husband and I did it. A lot of my cousins did it. Nobody in my family started out rich. We weren't to the manor born. But we worked hard. And we lived in little tiny apartments or little tiny row homes. We started out poor and we didn't like it. But instead of running to the nanny government and saying, well, we're Americans, we need to get money from the government to feed our kids, to support ourselves. No, nobody did that back then. Now everybody's doing it. Well, I have kids. I can't barely be expected to work. I can't pay for health insurance for my children. Why not? My mom did. My husband's parents did. My mom worked, supported me. My grandmother, who was sick, Jason's parents worked, supported him and his brother. This attitude that having children means you get to stay home and live off the government, that's what the Democrats think. And it's not good. It's not good at all. When you make a choice in life, you have to support that choice. So let's talk about this Medicare for all. First of all, ask someone on Medicare how they like it. Ask elderly people who are on Medicare if Medicare is their only health insurance. I guarantee you, in most cases, it's not. You're on Medicare, you have to buy a supplemental policy to cover what Medicare doesn't. And believe me, Medicare doesn't cover a lot. There's a lot of shit Medicare won't cover. Now let's talk about this attitude of government controlling healthcare. I used to think it was a good idea. Like I said, I started to rethink that, especially after my husband and I are now both in our 50s. Okay, I like to do movie analogies, so here it goes. If any of you have seen the movie Deep Impact, where the big asteroid, Ellie, the extinction level event, is headed toward Earth, But the government had a plan. So we know Earth will be destroyed and not being able to be habitated for 2 years. So the government secretly built these caves, and it could feed and take care of people for 2 years. However, not all people. So the government did a lottery through your social security number in this movie. If your social security number got picked, you get to live. If it didn't, shit out of luck. Here's the thing. There was a caveat. The government decided that since it was an extinction level event, the only people who would survive, the only social security numbers that would be in the lottery were people under the age of 50. Now, my husband and I first saw Deep Impact when we were in our 30s. We were like, oh, cool. I recently just saw it again, and now I'm 55, my husband is 51, and it's like, whoa, wait a minute. Oops. We wouldn't get to live. The government would decide that we weren't worth saving in an extinction level event. And 50 and 55 isn't that old. We could still have 20, 30 years left to live, but that doesn't matter. Now think about this, because I'm bringing it together here. Government controls healthcare, which means that every procedure, every medication you take is going to be paid for by the government, actually by tax dollars from people who actually pay taxes will be paying for every procedure, every surgery, every cancer treatment, every prescription. Do you really think, talk about Obamacare when people said there were going to be, throw grandma over the cliff? Well, that didn't happen. But I guarantee you, under socialized medicine with Bernie, it will happen. Of course, Bernie doesn't have to worry because if he's the president, no one's going to kill him or refuse him medical treatment. I always come back to none of our presidents or first ladies have ever died from cancer, which is kind of interesting when you think about it. They've had cancer, but they don't die from it. Jimmy Carter beat brain cancer. Who does that? That's something you need to think about right then and there. So think about your 65, 70-year-old grandparents or your parents, your aunts, your uncles. They get stage 3 cancer, stage 4 cancer. Do you really think under socialized medicine that the government of the United States is going to expect the taxpayers to pay $100,000 because cancer treatment is very expensive? Do you think under socialized medicine your 65-year-old grandma or mom who's suffering from cancer is going to get any treatment at all under socialized medicine? Hell no. They're not going to waste tens of thousands of dollars to try to cure someone who is retired, who can no longer procreate, who isn't paying the taxes they used to because they're retired. They're going to die, and they're not going to get treatment. They're going to be denied care. Because what the government will spend those tens of thousands of dollars for is for the 25 or 30-year-old who gets cancer. They're going to get good treatment because we want them to live and go back to work and pay taxes and have kids and blah, blah, blah. This is real, folks. Think about what I'm telling you. Don't call me selfish. Don't put what you think about me into this. This is how it's going to work. If you don't have children, if you are over 50 and we get Bernie Sanders in the White House and you get stage 4 or stage 3 or any kind of cancer, or you need heart surgery, or you need a liver transplant or a kidney, you're not going to get it. Because as far as they're concerned, once you reach a certain number, once you can no longer have kids, once you stop working, you're done. You mean nothing. You have no value to our government anymore. Hell, I have people on Facebook and some of my viewers who criticize me that I have no value in this life, that I should just go away and die because I have no children and I don't have a job. We're going to get to that in next week's show. Because again, yes, I do not have a job, but I also don't live off the government. I don't live off my neighbors. Nor would I ever do that, by the way. So socialist medicine, socialized medicine, will end up meaning that the government will decide what kind of care you get and who gets that care. Might work for some people, wouldn't work for me and my husband, wouldn't work for my husband's parents, my in-laws, wouldn't work for a lot of my older cousins who are in their 60s and 70s, whom I love. Not if they get sick, they're going to die. Because the government will not waste tax dollars on them. Because they can't get anything more out of them. They're not valuable anymore. Let's talk about income. Let's talk about the working person, the people who actually go out every day, go to work, business owners, corporate CEOs. I know the Democrats tell you how horrible these people are. Bernie says billionaires, and everybody in his rallies, boo, hiss the billionaires. Well, guess what, folks? Without billionaires and millionaires in this country, a lot of us wouldn't have jobs. People who work hard, who work for a living, they wouldn't have those jobs if the CEO hadn't worked hard and started his business. And by the way, these Democrats who so hate people with money have no problem taking that money for campaign financing. And why is it that in this Democrat Party that says they hate anybody who has wealth of any kind, why many of them drop out? Because they can't raise enough money to stay in. Why is it that only rich people can run for president? Why can't Joe the plumber run for president? Why can't my husband run for president? Because we don't have any money. We don't have the silver spoon. We don't have the family lineage. You know, we're not lawyers. We weren't senators. We weren't governors. But these people, they vilify anybody who has become a success in this country and then ask them for money so they can run for president. And then take more of their money when they raise their taxes. But let's talk about Bernie here. We're talking about Comrade Bernie, Russia, who honeymooned in Russia, by the way. That's how much, and this was in the 80s. He honeymooned in communist Russia and fell in love with communist Russia. You want to talk about Russian collusion? Bernie loves Russia. He loves the Communist Party. That's why he wants America to be communist light. That's what socialism is. It's communism light. Government controls everything you do. So let's talk about what Bernie said in the first debate about salary caps. So, you know, you've worked your ass off. You're making good money. And here comes Bernie saying, well, I'm going to start capping every American's salary. He actually said this, folks. I'm not making it up. He's going to say that, okay, American citizen, why? You're only allowed, I've looked at your lifestyle. You don't have kids. You're a little older. I've looked at your lifestyle. You don't have a lot of debt. You are allowed to make $150,000 a year. Now, say this American citizen Y makes $200,000 a year in salary at his job that he worked so hard for, or running his business. Well, Bernie has an answer for that. Anything you make over the $150,000 will be federally taxed, and we will take the other $100,000, and that will be your taxes. You're going to pay that to the government. Fun, huh? Let me ask all of you, intelligent people, if you were told that you're making $200,000 a year and Bernie Sanders becomes president and says, well, you're only allowed to actually take home $100,000 of it. and you make that 100,000 in the first 6 months of the year, what would you do the next 6 months of the year? Would you even bother going to work? I know I would tell my husband, well, just quit your job. After we get our 100,000, and believe me, I'm not talking about me. We don't make $200,000 a year, not even close. We're not even in the six-figure club, and yet we manage to live pretty well. But my point is this. Would anybody who is told by the federal government that you're going to work 6 months out of the year and you're going to keep that money, and the next 6 months you're going to get up every day and go to work, and we're going to take every dime you make? I have a great idea. Just quit your job, and spend the next 6 months looking for a new one. And then start again the next year. Work your 6 months, quit your job. Or if you are a business owner, shut the business down for 6 months out of the year. How would that look when all your employees are laid off for 6 months? Does anybody really believe that that is a cool way for America to work, that the government will tell you how much money you can earn, and that you earn too much money because they don't want you to have any extra, because they need your extra luxury money to give to people who they tell, don't worry about it, you're poor, you don't have to work at all, you have a lot of kids to support. How can we possibly expect you to get a job? Not going to work, folks, but Bernie said it. He said it. And let me talk for a minute about these young people who just love Bernie so much, who say they don't want anything for free, but, well, the loan forgiveness, we like that. That is something for free. Stupid young person. Now, these are the same young people that when they apply for jobs, the first question they ask is, how much vacation time do I get? Paid vacation. How much semi-sick days do I get? They don't care about their 401k. They don't care about health insurance. None of that. These are the same young people who refused to participate in Obamacare, even though it would have cost them very little money because they're young, they're healthy. These are the kids who are supporting Bernie, who want the government to take their money to pay for other people to use the healthcare industry. Because again, they're young and healthy. They don't go to the doctor. They don't have chronic illnesses. I wonder how these young people are going to feel if Bernie gets elected and all of a sudden they see that all their money, all their hard work is so that other people can have health insurance, so that other people can have cable and internet and cell phones. I wonder how these young people, if they really understand, because when I was in my 20s, I didn't understand that. That's why I was a Democrat. I didn't understand that my tax dollars were being given to people so that they didn't have to work, so that they could have kids they couldn't afford, so that they could get a house they couldn't afford, so they could live in a good school district they couldn't afford, because they didn't go out and work. I was sitting at a desk all day, hating every minute, watching the clock, and they were sitting home, living off of my money. Wait till these young people who have gone to college and now don't want to pay their loans back that they took out, wait till they actually get a job, and then Bernie takes half their income and gives it to people who have never had a job. See how they feel about that? Because, see, they don't understand what the Democrats like to do. The Democrats like poor people to stay poor. The Democrats believe that the nanny government should tell you what to do. They should tell you that it's okay to have kids you can't afford. And I didn't even have enough time. The show's going long. I didn't have enough time to even talk about climate change. And that under socialism, if there's a certain kind of food that's hurting the climate, beef, holler, well, you're not going to be allowed to eat beef or we'll be rationed. Here's your beef ration card for the month. You can only have beef one day a month. Hell, they did that in Russia. They will tell you what to eat to save the planet. They will tell you no more light bulbs, no more straws, no more paper bags. They're already starting to do it. And Bernie, oh, he's huge on climate change. And again, a socialist government can tell you what to eat, what foods will be in your grocery stores, how much meat you can eat a month, how much chicken you can eat a month, in order to save the planet. They can do it. That's what socialists do. Most people I talk to, whether Republican or Democrat, don't really like the government much. They don't like the government when it's in their personal business. And I don't care if you're poor or rich, you don't like the government. A lot of people that are on welfare say welfare doesn't pay enough. But it pays more than getting a job, which again, very sad. Shame on any corporation that won't pay a true living wage. I've always said that, and I stand by that. The minimum wage in this country is too low. And when I hear legitimately that some people who are on welfare and want so desperately to get off of welfare can't afford to get a job, I find that horrific. And I do feel sorry for those people. That's not fair, that they can't get a job when they want to. Then I know other people who just really don't want a job. They get pregnant knowing they're going to be living on welfare. They don't care. But they all hate the government. Welfare doesn't pay enough. Or the government's in my business. Or, God forbid, now, like Donald Trump wants people on welfare and food stamps to work part-time. Oh my God! Work part-time? How can I do that? I have children. Well, you know what, mommy dearest? My mommy worked full-time. My mommy worked overtime whenever she could get it. My husband's parents both worked. And they had children. My mother had me and my sickly grandmother to take care of. And she went out to work every day. So please, stop saying I have children, meaning I can't work. Having children is not a disability, folks. You can work. You just need to want to. And you also need to make plans for it. Like, okay, I'm going to get pregnant now. How am I going to afford to pay to support my children? Because supporting your children is your job, not my job. I don't know your children. I'm not going to support them. And I shouldn't have to. Nobody should. Just like nobody should have to support any decisions that my husband and I make in our lives. And we've never asked. So, that's Bernie Sanders. That's Comrade Bernie. Be very careful. Even the Democrats don't want Bernie to be the candidate for president. He scares the shit out of them because all they want to do is get Trump out. They don't care who does it, but they want someone who can do it. In Nevada, the culinary union is not even going to vote for a candidate in their primary or their caucus or whatever they do out in Nevada because they like their health insurance and they don't want the Democrats coming in and taking away their health insurance. They have really good health insurance out there in Nevada, the chefs and the servicers and the culinary people. So they don't even want to vote. They're not going to. They're not supporting any Democrat candidate. That's interesting, isn't it? The front runner for the Democratic Party, Bernie Sanders, his own party doesn't want him because they say he's not really a Democrat. He's a socialist who really wants to be a communist. So beware. And please vote whichever way you vote. Votes count. And whether we agree or disagree on who should be our next president, if you don't vote, you can't bitch. Political Paula is out.